A2IM, the collective voice of independent music.
My name is Salce. I represent Farolatino. I'm the business development manager here in the US. I work out of New York, and I cover the whole country in the US.
Go ahead, Alina. Okay, cool. So I'm Alina Escarcega. I'm here. I work for Altafonte. I take care of all the clients for the US. I'm Mexican and been living here in the States for 7 years. And we're a music company that is like taking, opening new doors for all the markets here in the States.
My name is Yvonne Drazan, and I'm based in Los Angeles. I work for Peer Music, which is an independent music publisher. We're a global company, but I work out of the Los Angeles office. I'm one half of the Latin division. The other half is based in Miami. And then we have offices in Nashville, and New York, San Francisco. So I do, my job is A&R, and I work with our Latin roster, sign writers and writer artists to publishing agreements for US Latin, but also with the hopes that they would be artists that would be successful in the rest of the region.
Nice to meet you. That's awesome. My name is David Hernandez. I am the CEO and founder of Colonize Media. Colonize Media is we develop technology, and we also work as an aggregator and helping record labels take off in the digital space, colonizing new frontiers. And yeah, that's what we do. It's fun.
Great. Are you out of New York as well, David, or are you in LA?
No, we're in Turlock, California, Northern California.
Northern California. Okay,
yeah.
Great. So I'm the only New York person
You're
in here.
the only East Coaster.
East Coast.
Okay. Well, let's try to get along then. East Coast versus West Coast, huh? Don't let's not gang up with me. All right. So, well, this conference or this panel, we pitched it Farolatino to the folks at A2IM earlier this year in January, because precisely what you said before, Alina, the conference in prior years has always been new labels or labels from the States, focused mostly just on indie American music or indie music for the general market, if that's a word. But we felt that, hey, I think there's enough of the Latino community or enough of the Latino business that I think can represent by just having a panel and see how it grows within the organization from here on. So this is, I guess, the first of hopefully many of them to come. And most of the reason behind it, in our case, I don't know if you guys will see it that way, but we don't have in the Latin industry like a Pitchfork or any of those type of publications that can focus or can really expand on the Latin industry. So they might give us a space here and there. So most of the time we have to all compete against each other to try to get on that one small space that we can have on the Rolling Stones or even on Pitchfork or any of those publications. So maybe by us coming together and educating the other genres in this panel, we can probably put a better, I would say, a flag of, hey, Latinos are here, we're open for business, we can all really collaborate with any genres, because as you know, here in the States, but also in Latin America, Latinos are very welcoming to the American music or any world music in reality. So we consume not only our rice and beans, we do consume also the cornflakes, and we consume the McDonald's.
And the mac and cheese.
Yeah, exactly. And mac and cheese and everything else. So with that, I guess I'll open it up to discussion to any of you to see what your thoughts are.
With the growth that we've been having in Latin America with over like 18% of growth in the market. I think for indie labels in the United States or England that are not Spanish speakers, they have a great opportunity because of the amount of people that are in Latin America consuming music. So the growth and the amount of consumption is growing so fast that obviously it's going to be a market for everyone. And that's something that we always are like trying to explain to our clients that are not in Latin America, since we also have presence in Europe, that, for example, Brazil or Mexico are huge trampolines for the artists to be in, because our connationals and our diaspora, for example, Mexicans or Salvadoreños or every Latino in the US are also consuming different types of music. So thanks to globalization for that, thanks for internet and DSPs, because I think those are the main tools and the reason we are all here. So I will say it always to look, beyond your country, beyond your genre, beyond everything, because there might be a gap that you're not touching, and that's the thing that can explode a project.
Absolutely, I agree 100%. You have anything to add, David?
Yeah, actually, I want to go back on what on your opening. That is so awesome that you pitched this panel, and I agree with you. In my perspective, it's just my perspective. It's not a fact. It's probably not a fact, but I feel like in important conventions and important events, the Latino part of the music industry is really not properly represented. And whenever there is a Latino talk or panel, it's geared all mostly towards the Latino that the rest of the market thinks is Latino. For example, there's regional Mexican, right? But not all regional Mexican or the perception of regional Mexican to the American audience or the American indie label audience, the majority think of it as it's salsa or merengue or, but it's not. The Latino genre, the Latino in general, it's so massive, it's so big. Just regional Mexican alone, it's got so many offshoots. You have cumbia, you have guaracha, you have corridos, you have banda, rancheras, mariachi.
Rockeros, mariachi.
Yeah. Corridos tumbados, corridos alterados. You have so much things that are really, really misrepresented. And I think this is a good starting point to start mentioning those genres and give those artists and hardworking labels a voice to the North American community. Mm-hmm. And regional Mexican music and Latin music in general, but specifically regional Mexican, it's probably the most or one of the most heard Latin genres in the US. And that's something people probably don't know. People focus mostly on reggaeton, which, it's big, it's global. And it's also it appeals to that, in my view, I think it appeals to that media buyer, that upper socioeconomic class of person that's buying media. A reggaeton artist might appeal more to them than a regional Mexican act that that doesn't dress or talk or look the same. So if we begin to educate ourselves and also help our colleagues in the industry get more educated in the different offshoots of the Latin genre, I think we could all have a lot of success and properly represent those underrepresented genres. So thank you for proposing this panel. So
I say, there's a lot of times that I feel very fortunate that I get to work in Latin, and because I think most of the time people have like this very monolithic image of what Latin is. They think it's just one thing, whether it's, regional Mexican or maybe tropical or maybe reggaeton. And, if just like in my position as an A&R person, and I have counterparts that work, on the general market side or the English language side, we'll call it. And there's like individual A&Rs for every genre, so there's like the rock A&R guy and the urban A&R guy and the pop A&R guy. And I'm like, under Latin, I tell people you should really think of Latin as an umbrella. And underneath that umbrella, I get to do everything. So I have in my roster, just in my roster in the US, between myself and Julio, who's in Miami, we have Latin urban, Latin alternative, regional Mexican, pop, tropical, like everything. And so I feel so fortunate that we're not limited to just one genre. Even though the perception is that Latin is like this one thing, we really do have everything, an entire rainbow of musical opportunities underneath that umbrella of Latin.
I think that what David pointed out, and there's a lot of facts in your opinion, David, by the way, it's actually backed up by a lot of data. And thanks, like Alina mentioned before, thanks to the digital world and the globalization, we have access to that and be able to show that these days. So with that being said, in reality, picking back on what Yvonne just mentioned, I have a background of not only the recording industry, I have a background in touring as well. And you can see how diverse the Latino community or the Latino market is in the United States alone. I'm talking about touring in arenas all over the US, going to almost every state except Hawaii and Alaska. I think we haven't been touring from my end, my experience. But just for one artist on tour, we had a specific targeting or specific marketing for different cities because we're so different in each way. And I mentioned before the rice and beans and the tortillas and whatnot. Even though we're Latinos, we still consume everything in different ways. And that comes with the music, and that comes with the food, that comes with the politics, that comes with the sports. You know, I'm from the Dominican Republic. We love and watch baseball, but I talk to my friends out in Argentina and they don't know where to start in baseball, you know? So, but we still speak the same language and we can still consume the same music. So music has been the one element that connects us all because of globalization, being from the Dominican Republic, I have no problem consuming the regional Mexican corridos. I have no problem consuming the mariachi. I have no problem consuming the banda because of what he has brought to us. So that's exactly what we want to communicate and we want to show everyone else in that handles the decisions and even the artists of other genres or different areas that we can all collaborate and we're open to actually listening and exploring new ways, especially the Latino community. We are so much open into accepting cultures. You know, that's a good thing about the Latinos, and any indie or any major market artist should look into that and not be afraid of reaching out or even to try to assimilate, because we will be welcoming in every which way. Latinos, you'll be like, no, we say it in Dominican Republic, yo resuelvo, you know, it's like, I might not know the answer, but we'll find a way to make it work, you know?
Mm-hmm. Totally.
So with that, I might have a question for you, Yvonne. What do you think that are the tools that we can show in this panel that an artist or in the record label can look for in the Latino market to actually expand or reach out and explore collaborations through your company, Peer Music?
I think that the last few years have been really interesting because there was a time when, an independent structure in the Latin industry didn't really exist very much. You were sort of obligated to work in the major label system if you really wanted to be able to have any sort of exposure. And between the, the growth of the digital marketplace and then, as Alina said, the globalization just of music in general, a lot of that has changed. And so there's so many, there was a time when if you were promoting an independent artist, and you were trying to get any sort of significant media attention for them, whether it's, you know, television or mainstream publications or anything like that, if they weren't signed to a major label, like ni te pelaban, they wouldn't even pay attention to you at all.
Agreed.
And now I find that it's all, which is a wonderful thing, but it all comes down to the quality, really. And so if it's good music, it's good music. If people react to it, they react to it. It doesn't matter what their state is of, you know, signed, unsigned, independent, not, you know, whatever that is. And especially like in this last year, it's just grown so incredibly with independent labels like Altafonte and having the access to DSPs and really being able to reach an audience without needing hundreds of thousands of dollars, you know, to pay for marketing campaigns and stuff like that. So it's been really exciting. And it's something that we have really been utilizing quite a bit. I mean, you know, our core business is music publishing, but we also have a pretty wide variety of writer artists on the Latin side as far as where they are in their careers, you know, all the way from like a Gloria Trevi and Victor Manuel that are like major label established legacy acts. And then all the way down to some of our more independent artists like a Jonah Camacho, that's a Latin R&B artist from Colombia, now living in Mexico City. And we're able to really get in there and help them out and come up with interesting marketing campaigns. And utilizing social media has been our saving grace. And even a couple of years ago, that would have been impossible. We could not have done an entire campaign for an independent artist using Instagram, for example. And that's exactly what we're doing, you know? And so I think it's just been really exciting. And, you know, of course, major labels still have their function, I guess, in, you know, for certain artists and certain genres. But it's not the, you know, the end all be all that it used to be. It's, you know, maybe an additional tool once you've built up some momentum or something. I don't know.
And
before you add, Alina, I'm going to add something to piggyback off you. Major labels still does have a major impact. However, the globalization or the digital age has put us all in very much in the forefront. Yeah, very level playground where we have access to every asset that the majors might have as well.
That's right.
Continue, Alina.
Yeah, sorry. I was looking for, like, you know, numbers and trying to figure it out, some campaigns, because trying to do marketing for 12 companies, for 12 offices around the globe in 2 continents to try to make it work here in the States, the music is kind of a puzzle. So I was looking that all the indies are almost 40% now and going up and
That's
expecting.
great.
Yeah, so it's going great. And to be honest, for doing investments or like the tools that you could recommend to grow, like obviously social media is number one. And also to think about that all the investment that you can put in your campaigns are actually cheaper in other countries than in the States. So activating that traction, you can get a greater audience by less money and with a great engagement, because we are like true music fans, you know? And I think like social media is just the tool number one, and also like having a team that gets your back and puts the water on the seed and grows the artist and is not focused on numbers is something that also gives the artist the opportunity to create and do quality things, like Yvonne said, and make the match with other.
I like what you said about true music fans. I mean, I preach this, and I'll probably be repetitive again, but I preach this, that music is the number one element that connects us all Latinos. Is the number one element. And I like that you say we're true music fans, and that goes exactly with this panel, that we want to show that the Latino community, the Latino consumer, are true music fans, and you can come to us, and we do consume rock, we do consume, like again, like David said again, we consume the rock, we consume the mariachi, but we can consume the hip hop. Yeah, we can consume the West Coast hip hop. We can consume the East Coast hip hop without a problem. You know what I mean?
That's right. I used to have a friend in high school that he used to love like dark metal, but then you saw him dancing salsa, and he was the best dancer ever. So there you go.
Yes. Okay. So that's a great example. I don't know, David, if you wanted to jump in on that end.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many tools. There's so many technology out there. There's, the Uber of this, the Airbnb of that in technology. At the end of the day, I think is the creativity, the passion, and actually doing it and actually being consistent with it and holding hands and working side by side with the team internally at whatever company anybody is, and also working hand by hand, side by side with the artist and their team, and everybody having the same exact vision and everybody wanting to go the same direction. Again, there's tons of tools out there. There's tons of things that could be done, but none of them will work if the dream doesn't work. So everybody has to have the same dream, the same direction. And if that's not there, nothing will ever happen. No matter how much money you throw at it, no matter if you have the best marketing person who knows how to make YouTube, whatever. It all starts with a dream. It all starts with the first step. It all starts with watering that seed, and mainly that dream and that passion. I
would agree with you that like it's access is maybe easier, but it's still just as much hard work as it ever has been.
Yeah, exactly. And then we have tons of technology also. Like I think people get really fixated on like certain marketing elements or technology, and then there's a lot of technology that's way ahead of us or many people, and they still don't fully grasp it, and they forget about working on the basics and then catching up to the technology later, because there are some core basics that will never that have tested the trials of time. Those core basics, the consistency, the actually focusing on good content, good music, and we lose sight, or artists or us professionals in the business, we could lose sight. So I think going back to the basics and starting there and one step at a time and working side by side with everybody involved, that's really the key. Then everything else that you add onto it, that's just gravy. It all starts with the team. It all starts in the office, within the planning, and everybody doing their part. I believe that, and that's what we do here. So,
yeah. I'm going to piggyback on some of that you just said. But I also wanted to go back to something that Yvonne mentioned, and that is the access. Maybe by us having this panel and growing it from here, it can also show that the Latinos were up to date also in giving access to numbers and information to our partners and our artists, because that might be also a misconception of, hey, you're Latino, there's got to be some contraband going on. That we're, you're like on your own if you're dealing with the Latino labels or anything like that. And like I mentioned before, the digital age and the globalization has put us all in the same forefront, in the same situation where we have access to all these tools, like you mentioned, David, that we can provide to an artist that just started today with their first single, to an artist with a large catalog, So that's part of why panels like this will help put in the forefront that, hey, we can do business with the Latinos without a problem, and you still have access to the same numbers and the same tools that you might have here in the States with any large label or any other platform, So with that, I wanted to also put here in discussion, I guess you can say, is what would you say that each of you or each company does these days to help music? Like, for example, this is like two-part question. We have songs that goes with what David mentioned, like Despacito, right? Where at the end of the day, it goes back to the basics of a good song it's a great song no matter what language it is. And if you do what Yvonne mentioned, you have the quality, it can be consumed by any audience, right? But at the same time, how can an artist make it like that song became, you know, where it was what it was with the Latino, but then it became even more when the general market accepted it or even was presented to it?
Well, I'll jump in that one. First of all, for Despacito, what an incredible team of people must have been behind that song. I hopefully one day have the honor of having a conversation with them. But what an incredible team! Like the execution of it, the back work of it is just impeccable, just awesome, you know. And then great song, great team, great push, everybody on the same page, of course, everybody with the dream. And but also there's another thing that I feel, not that I think, but I feel this. It's more of a feeling as a music lover than an entrepreneur in this industry. I also feel that everybody has a perfect song, right? Everybody has the perfect song. But
it's
then
our
again,
song.
yeah, of course. But then again, it's like you do everything right. You have the best team, you work really hard, you have results. But to have something that's like massive and global and just transcendent and just becomes legend, that's like literally some magic behind it. Some divine sort of spotlight on that particular group of people that is just transcends and communicates with human beings, not at a conscious level, but an unconscious level, at a very energetic and spiritual level that goes to our DNA, and we just feel it. Because then we go not from listening to music, it touches our emotions, and it goes from listening or seeing to now feeling it. So that, yeah, that's my comment.
Okay. Well, it's a good comment. It's a good comment. Do you want to say something, Alina?
I think like that's part of the Latin music, right? It goes right to the heart. It's the boom boom of the drum. And I mean, I'm going to go a little bit deep in the history, but we all know the basic drums and the do, batu, batu. It was like something for rituals. It was the beat of the core. So I think that was the perfect formula of a great team, great marketing, the great beat, the right words, and also, you know, the extra push of the greens, if I may say.
But I think also they had a great team behind it. They had the great song, but they also took advantage of the moment.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know, you have to take advantage of the moment. Mm-hmm. And that goes into a topic that I wanted to bring up. For example, Banda MS just did a collab with Snoop Dogg. That's something that was unheard of. I mean, I would even go 5 years ago that a hip hop artist will be collaborating with a banda, you know. But if you hear the story behind it, it was something organic.
And it actually makes a lot more sense than I think people expect. You know, like there's been, you know, various points in my career that I've tried to explain to non-Latinos what like narcorridos are, or like El Comander is one of my writer artists, and he's a very big artist in that genre, in the corrido genre.
And we have
huh?
And we control the masters on behalf of Twins.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And so he, you know, in trying to, because, you know, my entire team was like, who is this guy? Because he's literally my top earning writer, like, period. Wow. And so in trying to explain to them what narcorridos were, the only point of comparison I was ever able to do was to say, it's the gangster rap of the regional Mexican community. Mm-hmm. Like, culturally, it's exactly the same. The things that they're lyrically, what they're discussing, you know, the bravado, all that stuff. I mean, it's really, you know, it's not that distant. And so it doesn't surprise me, especially, you know, Snoop Dogg being an LA, you know, Long Beach kid.
Yeah.
He probably grew up hearing that and being part of that community. And, feeling a connection to it much more than people, like it seems on the surface like it's a really crazy combination, but in reality, it's not that far off,
I think it goes to what David mentioned before, because maybe you don't see a Banda MS going on the lowrider and maybe wearing the type of jeans without the boots or whatever, and that might be the misconception. But at the end of the day, your description of it was perfect. It's the gangster rap of Mexican music. At the end of the day, you were gonna say something, David.
Yeah, actually, I want to piggyback on the Comander situation. I guess we've been a team without even knowing it. So back like in 2014, 2015, I was working, the rounds with all the editors at this different DSPs. And when all the scandal was going on in Mexico with El Comander, where like just a lot of like amarillista news was coming out, I was going to the DSPs, I won't say the name or the curators, but I was going to the DSPs and they were literally telling me, we don't support corridos, we will not support El Comander. This was back in 2014, 2015. I just knocked on those doors, kept pushing, and also helping to educate the people that are in this position, especially back in the day, doing the curation for playlisting. It got to the work paid off. Also, Comander has an incredible team. His producers, Omar and Adolfo Valenzuela. My respects to those guys. Incredible musicians. They've added a lot to the regional Mexican market, culturally and professionally wise. Amazing guys. So, but going back to the Comander situation, is that there was a misconception of his whole persona, and I had to sit there and very patiently and very kindly explain to the curators and the different DSPs what El Comander was, what the music was, And finally, we released an album called Detrás del Miedo in 2015, and that was a awesome, just incredible release. Previous to that was So de Rancho, which was like the song of the year. It was incredible.
Yeah, huge.
Yeah. So, we were part of that. I was part of that early on, and I feel really proud of it. But it was a lot of work convincing the curators that didn't understand that type of regional Mexican. And going back to this Latino panel, is they saw the Latino as pop Latino, pop rock, reggaeton, but they did not understand whatsoever. Many of these curators did not understand the regional Mexican. Just didn't. Yeah. Especially the corridos at that point in time in history.
It's still kind of like that, to be honest with you.
Well, they're a lot more open now. On this particular platforms that straight out told me wouldn't promote corridos, wouldn't support them. Oh, they're the number one supporters of them now because now they understand them and they understand the audience much better.
And now there's a lot of playlists like One Voz or like different playlists that are mixing the bilingual products of like narco corridos or with a little bit more of R&B, and like I love to see that diversity and just play shuffle and everything makes sense. I don't know if that happens to you. Like, I love how music is merging. A few months ago, even for smaller artists like Rosa Pistola, she released an EP of narco corridos with Eli Quintero from Sinaloa. So a Colombian rapper, DJ, reggaetonera, mixing this and then translating everything to the Latinx here in the States. It was a very interesting project to work with. So we basically had like 3 audiences: Colombians, Mexicans, and the Mexican, American, and Latinos like unified in one EP. So it was super cool to see that.
That's great. And you'll have very good points and whatnot. But what I think sums it up is how we began with the panel. We need to, as a community, do as much of these as we can and go ahead and educate the audience. I think maybe that's one of the things that we might be missing. And like David went and knocked on those doors and make sure that he educated and he spent time. I think we need to do the same to our peers in the industry and really knock on the door every day. I mentioned the Pitchfork and all the other different types of publications that are out there that maybe just one section might not represent us all. you know, that being in the week with one panel might not just represent, obviously, a start, but it might not represent everything that we're about and whatnot. So that, I think, is what I take from each of your points, you know, where, hey, we can educate of how our community are. We come from, every one of us come from different backgrounds, but we all think the same. We all consume the same. We all, at the end of the day, we are welcoming into other cultures to ours. We don't impose it. We welcome the others, you know. We teach it, and in reality, se pega fácil, you know. It's easily consumed by everyone else once you understand it. Because if you notice, you have big movie actors or even other types of entertainment part. For example, it's a tragic thing, but in LA, I'll give you this because you guys are all from the West Coast. When I saw in the rituals that they made for Kobe Bryant, where you had each night a different type of Latino band come in and give a tribute, you can see how we all can merge and how we can coexist and at the same time collaborate with one another, you know, where you had 3 different types of Latino music, Mexican Latino music, all different, consuming the same thing, and everybody was feeling it and jamming to it, no matter what race you were at that moment. You connected with it. It went back to your energy, David, you know, where the Latino culture and the music has that magic of being able to connect with everyone at each point in time. And this is the time for us to collaborate with any indie project out there, or any major project with the Latin community. This is the time, because we are in that stage where people are curious, you know? And if we take advantage of that, people are consuming music more than ever. We might have an opportunity to create not another Despacito, 1,000 other Despacitos, you know?
Or another Sol de Rancho, or Adios.
Or another Sol de Rancho. There you go. You know. So I think those are key elements, and maybe taking advantage of the moment is what we want to communicate and show in this panel. That, hey, we're here. Take advantage of us now.
Because I met so many labels in last year conference, and I think there's totally a space for everyone in the consumption of singer-songwriter type of genre, or indie rock, or alternative, or something in Latin America, because we consume everything basically. So let's make it global. Let's make it available for everyone.
Well, it was a pleasure meeting all of you. And
you too.
if you guys are ever in New York, you can knock on the door. Come for coffee.
Luego no te quejes.
Dale.
Same here. Vénganse para acá el calorcito.
Dale, pues.
All right, you guys have an awesome day. It's a pleasure. Take care. And
Nice meeting you guys.
hasta luego.
Bye. Gracias.
Bye.
Everyone.
Thank you.